All right, listen to this. Man, football has this crazy way of turning ordinary players into legends when the pressure hits maximum. And right now, we're looking at two guys who carry that weight every time they step on the pitch, Vinícius Jr. and Marcus Rashford, two explosive forwards who can flip a game in seconds. And the question that's been eating at fans all over the world is simple but brutal. Who's the real big game player? Think about it. It's easy to shine against bottom table teams, easy to look like a superstar when nothing's on the line, but when the lights are blinding, when the stadium is shaking, when one goal decides if you're remembered forever or forgotten by morning, that's when you find out who's got the guts, who's got the killer instinct, and that's what we're diving into today, because Vinícius has this fearless electric energy like he was built in a lab for Champions League nights, while Rashford's story is more chaotic, carrying the weight of Manchester United through all its drama, sometimes looking like the hero of a Hollywood script, sometimes vanishing when you need him most. And in that contrast, that razor's edge between brilliance and pressure is what makes this conversation so damn addictive. So stick with me, because we're about to break down not just who's better, but who's built for history, who's writing their legacy under the brightest lights. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss a second of this. You know what's crazy, man? This whole idea of big match mentality. It's not just about talent. It's not about who's faster, who's got the better step over, or who's hitting the gym harder. It's about this weird psychological switch that flips when the stakes are at their absolute highest, like when the whole stadium's breathing down your neck and the cameras are zoomed so close you can see the sweat dripping off your chin. Some guys crumble and some guys come alive, and that's what makes it fascinating, because Vinícius Jr., this dude looks like he was programmed in some lab to thrive in chaos. Like, the louder the crowd gets, the more he dances on the ball, the more defenders start panicking. You can see it, man, they don't even want to be near him. He feeds off the tension, like it fuels him. And when you watch Rashford, it's different. Sometimes he's that guy, he's ice cold, like that penalty in Paris, bro, 21 years old, and he's walking up to the spot against Buffon with the whole of Manchester on his back, and he just slots it like he's in the park. That's big match mentality. But then there are other nights where it feels like the weight of the shirt, the drama at United, the instability, it kind of drags him down, and you're sitting there like, where is that killer? Where is that cold-blooded version of Rashford? Because the mentality piece isn't about ability. It's about consistency under fire, and that's where Vinícius just looks scarier, because Madrid have this culture, this DNA, man. Like, every time they step into the Champions League, it's like some Avengers-level movie. They just believe it's their stage, and Vinny grew up in that. So now when it's Bayern, when it's City, when it's Liverpool, he's smiling, he's dancing, he's scoring like pressure doesn't exist in his world, while Rashford is fighting in this other environment where it's chaos off the pitch, managers changing, tactics shifting, expectations insane, and sometimes he taps into that clutch energy and looks untouchable. Other times he looks like he's searching for it. So big match mentality, man. It's this thing you can't teach. It's not written on a stat sheet. You don't measure it in goals or assists. It's like fight or flight when the arena's full and Vinícius looks like a predator. Rashford sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. And that difference is what makes this debate so wild, because we're not just talking about footballers. We're talking about who shows up when history is being written right in front of us. Consistency under pressure, man, that's where you really separate the killers from the crowd, because it's one thing to have that one magical night where everything goes right. You hit a banger from 30 yards or you torch a defender and people call you world class. But it's another thing entirely to do it again and again when everybody knows what's coming, when the defense has studied your moves, when the pressure isn't just about scoring, but about carrying the entire emotional weight of your team. And that's what fascinates me about Vinícius and Rashford, because Vinícius has this vibe like he's addicted to chaos, like those Champions League nights where most guys tighten up, he loosens up like he's smiling, dancing, taking guys on 1v1, and you're like, what the hell? How does a guy look more comfortable when the stakes are insane? And that's consistency under pressure, not just doing it once, but walking into semi-finals, finals, El Clasicos, and delivering to the point where it almost feels expected. Like Madrid fans don't even flinch anymore. They're like, yeah, of course, Vinny's going to cook tonight. It's his stage. while Rashford, man, his story is different because he's shown flashes of that clutch gene, like that penalty in Paris, the goals in big derbies, moments where you're like, oh man, this dude is stone cold. But the thing is, sometimes he rides waves. Like he'll go on this crazy run of form and look like one of the deadliest forwards on the planet. And then when another massive game comes, sometimes he disappears, not because the talent isn't there, but because the consistency under fire is harder to sustain when your club doesn't have that same machine around you, when the environment is turbulent. The pressure is not just about the match, about saving the season, saving the manager, saving the badge. And that weight can crush even the most talented dudes. And that's what makes the comparison so nuts, because Vinícius is in a place where he's nurtured to be the star. The system is built for him to shine. And under pressure, he thrives like he's wired for it. Rashford, on the other hand, feels like he's battling two fronts, the opponent in front of him and the circus around him. And sometimes he conquers both, sometimes he gets lost in it. So consistency under pressure isn't just about skill, it's about mindset, repetition, environment, and that unshakable belief. And right now, if you're honest, Vinícius is showing it every damn time, while Rashford is still trying to prove that he can lock in to that killer mode whenever the lights are blinding and the world is watching. Stage and environment, man, that's one of the most underrated things people don't talk about enough, because it's not just about who's the better dribbler or who's got the faster sprint speed. It's about where you're doing it, what kind of culture you're swimming in every single day. And that's where this whole Vinícius versus Rashford thing gets wild, because look at the stage Vinícius is on. He's at Real Madrid, the biggest Champions League club in history, a team where legends are born under the brightest lights. And the environment there is literally built to hardwire you for pressure. Like, it's not normal. Man, it's like stepping into an institution where winning isn't celebrated. It's demanded. And if you don't show up on European nights, you don't survive. And Vinícius has been raised in that from the start. He's got Benzema mentoring him, Modric feeding him, a whole culture that says, hey kid, this is your playground, go kill it. So of course, when he steps into the semis or a claw psycho, he looks like he belongs, because the stage itself was designed to forge him into that guy. Now contrast that with Rashford, because his stage is Manchester United, and that's not the United of Sir Alex Ferguson anymore. That's a turbulent United, a chaotic one, where every season feels like a soap opera, managers rotating, systems breaking, fans desperate for glory. And Rashford's been thrown into that from the time he was a teenager, carrying this heavy burden of being the local boy, the symbol of hope. And that environment is brutal, man, because instead of feeding you consistency, it drains you. One year you're playing free, flowing counterattack. The next you're trapped in some rigid setup that doesn't even fit your strengths. And every big game feels less like an opportunity to shine and more like a battle to survive. So while Vinícius is surfing on this wave of structure and legacy that makes him flourish, Rashford is fighting against a storm. And the crazy part is sometimes he still breaks through. Like, he'll have that night against City or that penalty in Paris where he looks like a monster. But you can feel the environment tugging at him like an anchor. And that's what people don't get. The stage shapes the player. The culture around you either amplifies your mentality or it chips away at it. And right now the contrast couldn't be sharper. Vinícius is dancing on a stage that was made for legends, while Rashford is trying to carve out big game moments in a theater that's collapsing around him. And that difference tells you almost everything about why one looks like he's thriving under the lights while the other is fighting just to find them. Decisive moments, man. That's the real measure of greatness, because you can score 20 goals in a season. You can have all the highlight reels you want against mid-table teams. But when the entire season is on the line, when one touch, one strike, one decision can flip the whole narrative of your career, that's when you find out who the real killers are. And with Vinícius Jr, you see this pattern where the bigger the moment, the sharper he gets. Like Champions League knockout ties where the ball finds him in space and defenders are already sweating. Or that final against Liverpool where he ghosts into the box and smashes in the winner. That's not just talent. That's stepping up when history is being written. And that's why people say he's got that clutch DNA, because these decisive moments don't scare him. They feed him. You watch him in El Clasico or a semi-final, and he's not hiding. He's demanding the ball. He wants the spotlight, and then you flip it to Rashford, and the story is a little more complicated because this guy has had some iconic decisive moments too, like that penalty in Paris against PSG, 19, 20 years old, walking up in the last minute, pressure insane, whole stadium booing, and he just rips it into the top corner like it's nothing. That's legendary stuff. Or those screamers against City that flipped the energy in the derby. Those are moments where he stamped his name. But the thing is, with Rashford, those decisive plays sometimes come in bursts, like he'll deliver a world-class moment one week, and then in another massive game you're looking for him, waiting for him to grab the moment. And it doesn't happen, and that's where the conversation gets tricky, because decisive moments are about more than highlight reels. It's about building a resume of clutch performances that people can't argue with. And right now, Vinícius is stacking those moments like crazy. Every season, another knockout goal. Another game, winning contribution on the biggest stage, while Rashford's catalog is more scattered, more like flashes of brilliance that prove he can do it, but not the same consistent body of work. And that's what makes the debate interesting, because one guy is writing chapters in the book of Champions League history, while the other is trying to pull greatness out of chaos. And when you break it down, decisive moments are where legends are carved in stone. And right now, whether you like it or not, Vinícius looks like he's living in that zone, while Rashford is still fighting to make it his permanent address. Clutch factor and legacy building, man, that's where the whole debate hits a different level, because now you're not just talking about who's good on a random Saturday or who can smoke a bottom table defense. You're talking about who shows up in the moments that people will remember 20 years from now, those moments where the stakes are so high that your name gets etched into football history if you deliver. And that's where Vinícius feels like he's already laying bricks for a legacy that could be insane, because when you score in a Champions League final at such a young age, that's not just a goal. That's a moment that gets replayed forever. That's the stuff kids in Brazil will watch on YouTube and say, I want to be that guy. And he keeps stacking these clutch plays, knockout goals, El Clásico performances. Like every year he's adding another chapter to this book of big game killer. And the beauty of it is that it's not luck. It's repeatable. You see the pattern. He thrives when the lights are the brightest. And that's how legacies are built. Not just numbers, but iconic memories, while Rashford's story is different because his clutch factor has these flashes that are unforgettable, like that penalty in Paris. That was one of the coldest moments in Champions League history for a kid his age. That single strike is enough to cement him in United folklore, and those thunderbolt goals against City, those nights where Old Trafford shakes because of him, those are big clutch stamps. But the problem is they feel more isolated, like islands of brilliance, instead of a connected chain. And legacy doesn't come from one or two nights. It comes from a pattern of nights, from being the guy everyone looks at when it's 0-0 in the 85th minute and trusting you find a way. And Rashford has shown he's capable, but he hasn't done it with the same ruthless regularity. And part of that is environment. Part of it is the chaos around him. But when you're talking clutch factor, excuses don't really matter, because the legends, the real icons, they rise no matter what. And that's why this conversation feels tilted, because Vinícius is already stacking up a resume that's pushing him into that all-time big game player category, while Rashford is still fighting to prove that his moment just flashes in the pan. But the foundation of a legacy and in sports, man, that's the ultimate test, not just whether you can do it, but whether you can do it again and again until people stop questioning and start carving your name into stone. So here's the thing, man, after breaking it all down, the mentality, the consistency, the environment, the decisive moments, the clutch factor, you start to see the picture. And it's wild because both of these dudes are insanely talented. Both of them have given us moments where you jump off your couch and lose your mind. But when you zoom out, when you talk about who's carving their name into the walls of football history right now, Vinícius looks like the guy who's already living in that space. He's stacking performances. He's stacking trophies. He's proving every time that pressure is just fuel for him, while Rashford is still in that battle to show he can do it night after night, that he can rise above the chaos and make his big game moments the rule instead of the exception. And that's the beauty of this debate, man, because it's not done. This isn't the final chapter. These guys are still young, still hungry, and we're watching the story unfold in real time. So buckle up, because whether it's Vinícius dancing past defenders on a Champions League night or Rashford firing Old Trafford into chaos with a screamer, we're witnessing two careers that could define a generation. And that's the kind of ride you don't want to miss. So good luck to both of them. May they keep giving us those spine-tingling, jaw-dropping nights we live for. And thank you guys for hanging out, listening, and diving into this madness with me. I love you all. Stay sharp, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next one.